Hello, everyone. This is Derek again. I just want to kind of touch base about some things I'm watching in our Facebook group. And so today is November 15th, 2022. And some of the thing I'm kind of watching, there's lots of misinformation out there. And it seems like we're all getting different information from different sources, which is fine. I mean, I think everybody's really rallied and engaged. And so everybody's looking for information, especially because we don't have any really hard evidence about what's truly going to happen. What we do know, going forward is, this bill will, most likely be certified. The election will be certified on December 15th. From December 15th, we're going to have 30 days until Measure 114, unless there's some sort of either a stay or injunction imposed to stop this. So we're looking in, middle of January for this thing to go into effect. Gun stores are going to have 6 months after it goes into effect to make sure they get rid of all their magazines. So one thing I want to talk about when we're talking about the magazines is the affirmative defense component to this bill. So what an affirmative defense is basically, typically in a criminal trial, the burden of proof is on the state to prove that you were guilty of this crime. So with the affirmative defense, what that does is that puts that burden of proof on you, the gun owner, to prove to the state of Oregon when you had possession of these magazines, and those magazines have to be in possession, prior to this date going into effect. And so I want to clear up some of the confusion there, because when we're talking affirmative defenses, it's kind of dangerous because, we have to do our due diligence to prove that we're in possession of these magazines before it goes into effect. And so it just puts a little bit more strain on us. And what we're trying to do is to make sure that, everybody's above board, everybody knows what's going on. Obviously, we all know what the penalties are. It's a Class A misdemeanor. If caught in possession of these magazines, penalty of a Class A misdemeanor in the state of Oregon is up to 364 days in jail. It's a $6,250 fine, max penalty. So it's definitely not good. And so we just got to keep focused. Keep moving forward. I'm still waiting to hear about what's happening with the legal aspect of the challenges here. Seems like there's a lot of organizations that are stepping forward. I did hear yesterday that NSSF is getting involved. I'm not sure what their role is going to be in this. There's a lot of people that are bringing resources to our state, which is really, really good. And we just have to be patient. I know it's hard to be patient right now. I've been in multiple gun stores the past couple days, and I'm just seeing the panic, and I'm seeing people, getting in there, making these purchases before, they're going to be prevented. And so, that's the challenge is, hurry up and wait, basically, because the system cannot put out these approval numbers fast enough. And so what it's doing is driving up the queue numbers. Even the people with CHLs are being held up. And so, this is kind of foreshadowing. So what's going to happen when this thing goes into effect? And so you're going to see the whole system shut down. And, I'm seeing people talk about 2 years. I mean, in reality, I don't know how they're going to get the infrastructure up. I do have more and more sheriffs every day that are coming forward, that's saying that this is unconstitutional. They're not, they're good sheriffs. They understand their oath. They're standing up for their citizens. And a couple of things there is they're talking about how they're not going to enforce the mag ban. They're talking about how they're going to help, make the process easier for people to get the permit to buy their guns. So I guess that's a good thing. But it comes down to the Oregon State Police. They're the final say on this. And that's the one thing I want you guys to focus on is obviously the sheriffs and the local PDs can make a position on this, but it's going to come down to Oregon State Police, because they're the ones that are going to do these background checks. They're the ones that are going to issue that approval number when you buy a firearm. And so ultimately it's going to fall on them, so they could, we have a certain county that's going to, not enforce this. That's great. But it comes down to, is you go to buy a gun in that county, you're going to be prevented because of Oregon State Police is ultimately going to do that background check. So I don't want to give anybody false hopes here, and I don't want to give anybody any illusions here. But it's really, really important that going forward, as we understand, what's truly going on here, how it's going to affect us, and make sure that you guys are aware. It's so frustrating, and I'm getting lots of messages from people, and I really respect and I appreciate everybody that's coming forward to kind of help with this and offer anything they can do in their circles. And at this point, I think it's just important that we just, watch our timelines, see if there's anything relevant, putting it in here, and that way we can get that information out to everybody. There's been a lot of good information that's come forward. That video yesterday that came out of Washington was a really, really good eye-opening, and it really talked about, the process. I can't wait till he does another follow-up video when it comes to the magazine one. And so we're, obviously, I was trying to hold out hope for the longest time and stay positive and thinking that, they weren't going to have the votes. We're going to find all these rural counties, and it looks like I was wrong. And which I was looking at the numbers, and there's a lot of people just like me that are watching the numbers. They didn't add up, and it is what it is at this point. So we're just going to change focus and, make sure that we put the support where it needs to go. OFF is doing some good work. Second Amendment Foundation's rallied up. GOA is involved. Now the NSSF. So we got some big time hitters that are involved. And so all we can do is kind of put our trust in them and give them the resource and the help. And I haven't seen the official GoFundMe yet, and I'm still waiting on that. So as soon as I get that, I'll put it out so you guys can kind of help out with this process. And let's hope that, the more I see, the more none of this makes any sense. I saw something from the corrupt clergyman yesterday talking about how we all have to come together to implement. I'm like, how do we come together to implement when this is something that's so one-sided that it's not even moderate in approach? It's a full-on restriction. Also, it destroys the whole process, right? So we have a process that is not perfect, but it does work here in Oregon. Every gun sale in the state of Oregon goes through a background check, at the point of sale in an FFL. There's no private party sales in Oregon. And so that's the problem here is we had a system that it was working until this happened. And so now we don't know what's going to happen. And so, the only people that are going to benefit from this situation is criminals, because they're still going to have their guns. They're still going to have their standard capacity magazines. They're going to hold 30 rounds or 17 rounds. They're not going to care about this arbitrary law that, they're already a criminal. And so, that's the sad part here, because it makes all of us very vulnerable and, makes our families not safe, and we're pulling law enforcement off the streets to be dealing with background checks. That's another thing that's going to be dangerous, because now resources are not going to be directed where we need them. And that's actually out there on the streets doing what they're supposed to be doing. And so, it's my hope that this all thing will just get struck down. That's my biggest thing. I think this is, I don't know. I don't have a lot of hope in the system at this point. I feel we're not going to get a reprieve from the governor, because the governor is going to be totally on board with this. We're not going to get a reprieve at the Secretary of State's office, because they're the ones that kind of, put this monstrosity on the ballot. So basically I'm just holding up hope for the court system, and I'm hoping that we can get a good judge that can understand, what truly this is going to do to us and how it's going to infringe on our rights. And it's going to do nothing to save anything. So it's so frustrating. And I know there's a lot of people that are just like, they don't know what to do. And I'm trying to stay calm. It's hard to stay calm. I get, 60 to 70 messages a day from people all over the state that, wonder what's happening. And the best way I can do it is just put information here in a video. That way you can share it. And I try to, keep it short and quick and to the point. And, I'm going to have topics today. I think that's what I'm going to do. So today's topic is the affirmative defense. And so, don't think just because, regular, due process rights are going to be enough to protect you here. Make sure that, geotagging works, so if you can have a timestamp, geotag from your cell phone, that would be good. I'm seeing people do that when it comes to proving that they had these mags in possession before the law goes into effect. And so that's only thing I can do there. If you don't have the receipt, that's going to be a problem. And so just figure out a way to use technology to your advantage to make sure that you can support that you had these magazines, and that way you are compliant-ish. So I'll keep everybody posted. I appreciate all the positive words that I've gotten from everybody, and this is something that I've put a lot of time into, is making sure that I can put out the information to you guys, so you guys have it, and because you guys are, we're in this together, and so we all are. It seems to me, from what I'm seeing in the group here, is we're all working in the same direction, which is really, really good. And so I really, really appreciate all of that, because that's going to be really critical as we go forward into the next phase of this, is how we come together, unified front, to stop this. And so that's what I was trying to do when I eventually started these videos, was to kind of give people kind of insight about what I do, how I deal with things, and hopefully maybe inspire others so they can get involved and do what needs to be done here to build the infrastructure that we need. I'm still working on putting together a Zoom, and so a Zoom where on my Zoom account I can have up to 100 people in a Zoom. And so once I free up my schedule a little bit, I've been kind of overwhelmed and backed up. I'm getting ready to do some stuff out of town, and I'm going to set up a Zoom link where we could all jump on 100 at a time, and then we can kind of like brainstorm and figure out roles, figure out what we can all do together, what our strengths are, what our talents are, what we want to do, and then go from there. And I'm hoping that we can we can do some work. So that's my goal, but I'm going to get off here. I appreciate you guys watching this, and you guys can share this and put it in people that don't understand or don't know the next steps for us. So obviously we do have a couple hard dates. Couple hard dates would be December 15th. That's going to be the certification of the election. 30 days, that starts the clock. 30 days after that, that's when Measure 114 will go into effect. So we're looking, middle-ish of January, unless we have some kind of savior from either a injunction or a stay. The gun stores have 180 days or 181 days to make sure they get rid of all their magazines that they have inventoried. And so, affirmative defense, right? Just because you have a magazine in your possession, you have to prove that you had it in your possession before this thing goes into effect. So just be aware of that. And so what I'll do is I'll just kind of look at topics. I'll pick a topic a day, and so I can just keep this information in front of people, and we'll just kind of put everything together, and then that's what we'll do. So I appreciate you guys tuning in, and I will talk to you again soon. Thank you. Have a good day.